Well, team, welcome back to the session. So, in the last week on Thursday, on Friday, we didn't have the session. On Thursday, we were discussing about the concept of offerings in the system team. And as part of that, I have told you what is the, what are the offerings that we have in our HCM product, and how our modules are residing under our offerings team, and how to enable that offerings in the system. We have seen too. By enabling the offerings in the system, what access that we are getting, okay, what benefit or what access that we are getting in the system, that also we have seen in the last session team. And I have also introduced to you certain cosmetic level features within the Fusion applications. What we have, something like where we have to navigate for searching any kind of configurational tasks across the module in the system, where to find them, right team? How many different places, in fact, what are all the different searches that we have in the system, search bars that we have in the system, that all I have explained you team. And in different screens, some basic cosmetic level features like the help icons within the Fusion application, or single star fields or double star fields means what, right? These all we have seen team. Now in today's session team, I'm going to start a concept called organization structure or the enterprise structure in the Fusion application team. Just give me a second team. I will try to just come back 1 second. Okay. So in today's session, I'm going to start a concept within the core HR module team, because that is a basis to understand the core HR module team. In any implementation you work on, when you are configuring the core HR module, we should understand first of all the concept of organization structure that we have in our core HR or global HR module team. So today we are going to purely discuss the theoretical concept team rather than the practical things in the system, because once we know the concept of org structure or the enterprise structure, then you can configure them in the system one by one team. So let me go to the Excel, fresh Excel, let's say. So what is this concept of org structure team? So I'm going to talk about a concept called organization structure, or we can also call this as enterprise structure in the Fusion application team. What is this concept, and what is the structure that we have in the system team? Okay, org structure or the enterprise structure, if I talk team in the Fusion application, the organization structure will be like this thing. At the top, we have the concept called enterprise in the system team. Okay, at the top, we have the concept of enterprise in the system team. And then under enterprise, we have the concept called divisions in the system. Okay, under divisions, we have the concept called legal entities in the system, right? And under legal entities team, we have the concept called business units in the system. And under business units team, we have the concept called departments in the system team. This is what org structure or the enterprise structure that we have in the Fusion application team. We have enterprise at the top, followed by divisions, followed by legal entities, then followed by business units, and followed by departments. This is our org structure or the enterprise structure in the Fusion application team. Now let us understand what is meant by an enterprise. What is a division? What is a legal entity? What is a business unit? Or what is a department means team? So let us take up any real-time company in the market team. We will take up that as an example, and we will assume that as our client, and we will configure the system team. Going forward also, we will configure the application with that particular company naming convention only team. So let's assume our client is Tata Group team, the well-known company that which everyone knows, that is our Tata Group. Okay. Now, if I go to the concept of enterprise team, what is an enterprise team? Basically, enterprise is nothing but a top level assumed entity in your client's organization team, or an enterprise can be the ultimate mother holding group of your client. What is an enterprise team? The top level assumed entity of your client's organization, or the ultimate mother holding group of your client team. If I go with the example of Tata team, let's go with the Tata group, let's say. So let me go to the Wikipedia of the Tata group, let's say. So what is this team? Tata group. There is something at the top, right team? Tata group. Under this Tata group, under this mother holding group, or the under this Tata group family, Tata is having multiple companies team across the globe. They have something like TCS. They have something like Tata Consumer Products. They have something like Tata Motors, Tata Power, Tata Steel, or Tata Chemicals, or Tata Communications. These all are the actual operating companies of the Tata group team. But at the top, among all this, there is something called Tata Group. What is this team? This is called as enterprise, the ultimate mother holding group of your client team. So in our case, in the example of Tata team, we can consider the enterprise as Tata Group. We can consider Tata Group as an example in the enterprise team. So now you understood what is the concept of enterprise. Whenever you're going for an implementation team for any of the client that which you got the project for, in your client's organization, what is the top ultimate mother holding group? You identify that as an enterprise in the system team. In our example,
I will hold for a 1 second. Can we call it as like the parent company?
you can call it or you can name it.
Because it is the ultimate, the parent company only. So under that we have the subdivisions, the sister companies, we can say.
But it's
So
not
this,
a company, it's a assumed entity at the top. All the companies will come here, basically. So one top authority or the top category or the group name, that what you will call, that you can call it as enterprise.
okay. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Let us discuss the doubts at the end of the session, team, so that it won't interrupt the flow. So Tata Group, in the example here, you can consider as an enterprise in the Fusion application team, which is nothing but, it is not a company actually team. Tata Group is not a company. Under this umbrella or under this family, customer, the Tata is having multiple companies operated team. So this we can name it, acronym it as a top level assumed entity of your client organization team, or the mother holding group, or the ultimate holding group of your organization's team. So that you can consider it as an enterprise in the Fusion system. So in our example here, for the client Tata, the Tata group, that what they have, the mother holding group at the top, that is called as enterprise team. Next, as part of the hierarchy team in the Fusion system, after the enterprise, we have something called divisions in the system team. So what is a division team? Divisions can be categorized according to the industry in which this client is having the operations, or across the globe in what are all the locations or the regions that this client is operating. Now our client is Tata team, Tata Group we are going to configure. Now Tata Group is into diversified business functions team. They are into IT communications, they are into telecommunications, they are into manufacturing, they are into automobile, they are into power, they are into airlines, they are into different industries. So after enterprise in Fusion system, we have the concept called divisions team. Okay, so divisions you can identify among all your clients, companies team, according their in their operations. You can identify the divisions based upon the mode of business or an industry which they are into operating, or in the locational wise also you can categorize the divisions team. Let's suppose my client is in operating in Asia, they are into Europe, they are into Middle East, they are into Australia, they are into let's say Canada. In different regions, my client is having the business operations team. So the divisions can be identified based upon the regions or locations wise team. So I'm giving a Tata Asia division. Okay. Example I'm giving like this team in the real time, whatever the naming conventions that your client required in their business, you have to use that one team. So I'm giving like Tata Asia division, Tata US division. Okay. And then let's say my client having the operations into Europe also. So Tata Europe division, let's say. Okay. And then they are into Middle East also. Tata Middle East division. Okay. And then I have something like Tata Australia division separately. I'm having, let's say. So you can categorize the divisions or identify the divisions of your customer or the client based upon the locational or the region wise that they are having the operations team, else based upon the business that which they are into team. Something like Tata IT division, okay, because they are into IT market. Then Tata Automobiles, okay, division, okay, and then something like, let's say, Tata Manufacturing division, okay, then Tata Aviation division. So depending upon the mode of business team, okay, just give me a second team. Just give me a second team. There are some participants trying to join and they're reaching. Yes, team. Sorry for the interruption. So the divisions can be according to the region specific. You can categorize team that which your client having their business operations, or depending upon the industry they are operating into, you can also categorize according to this team. So let me go with the region wise as of now in our current requirement configuration state. So this is the enterprise, and these are all the divisions that our client is having. Their business is having their operations team. Okay. And then team, under divisions, we have the concept called legal entities in the fusion system team. So what is a legal entity team? The actual registered companies of our client. What is a legal entity team? What is a legal entity team? The actual registered companies of our client. In our case, what are all the companies that our Tata group is having team? Let's say Tata Consultancy Services, Tata Consumer Products, Tata Motors, Tata Power, Tata Steel. These all are what team? These are the actual registered companies of the client, okay, which are doing their business operations across the markets or across the globe team. Okay, so these all companies of our client in the Fusion system, we will call them as legal entity. See, this is Fusion terminology team, that is Oracle Fusion Applications terminology team. Okay, in real time, whatever that we are trying to understand in that perspective too. So in real time, basically for any organization, there will be a top group or the mother holding group. That in the Fusion system, we will call it as enterprise. And in whatever the areas that they are having their business operations, that we are creating it as divisions team. Then legal entities under each division, now we are going to define team. What are all the actual registered companies of our client that are operating in the market? Okay, that is called as legal entity. Okay, that standard definition that Oracle given for this is team. Okay, excuse me. The standard definition that Oracle given for this team, the entity which is legally registered is called as legal entity. The entity or the company which is legally registered as per the government norms, that is called as legal entity. Nothing but the actual registered companies of our client team. Let's suppose in Asia division team in India, let's say, or in other countries in Asia, my client is having the legal entities like Tata TCS India Private Limited. Okay, TCS India Private Limited, and then I have something like team. Second team is people having some problem to join the session. They are reaching continuously. Hello. Yes. Yeah, I've shared the link. The same link you can. Yeah. Yes, please. Same link. Yeah. You can download the Zoom app and you can. Yeah, you can. Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Steve. So let's say team in India division, we have something in Asia division, we have something like TCS India Private Limited. Okay. Then we have something like Tata Motors Private Limited. Okay. And then we have something like team Tata Automobiles Private Limited. Okay. So these are the registered companies that we are having, that our client is having in the Indian division or Asia division team. Okay. So let's suppose in US division team, they have something like TCS US Private Limited. Okay. Then they have something like Tata Power Private Limited. Okay. And then they have something like Tata Steels Private Limited. Okay, they can have more also team. As of now, I'm listing some basic legal entities that which we basically know. And then in Europe division, they have something like Tata Aviation Private Limited. Okay, then they have something like Tata Textiles Private Limited. Okay, let's say in Middle East countries, they have something like Tata Voltas Private Limited. Okay, and they have something like Tata CP, Consumer Products Private Limited. Okay, and let's say here they have something like Tata Finance Private Limited. So they are the companies in this Middle East team. And in Australia, they might have something called Tata Manufacturing Private Limited. Let's say there is one organization they are having in this particular region team. So these all are the actual registered companies of our client team, which is operating across different divisions across the globe team. So these all companies in Fusion system, we will call them as legal entity. An entity which is legally registered as per the government norms in that particular country. So every company, when we are setting up team, we will register with that particular government, right? With a specific address, and government will allocate certain legal information to that one, everything. So that's what we will call them as legal entities. In Fusion system, actual companies we will call as legal entities. The terminology we will be using in the Fusion system for the actual companies are legal entities team. Okay. Now, enterprise means what we understood team. Divisions means what we understood. And what is a legal entity in the system, we understood team. Under legal entities, we will have the concept called business units in the system. What is that team? After the company, what is the next level of bifurcation in the business? Means whenever a customer conducting a business team, any company in the market you take, probably in your organizations also where you are working, how the business functions are diversified team. They're into different wings. They're into sales wing, finance wing, supply chain wing, marketing, procurement, advertising, and promoting. Your business is getting diversified into different functions team in order to conduct the business more kind of transparency or more kind of flexible the way they are operating team. Any company in the market you take, they won't operate in a centralized. They will have that in a kind of different partitions, or they're into different diversified business functions team. So business unit after the legal entities, you can call them as, these are the logical operating units which will be coming under each legal entity team. So TCS India Private Limited is a company of my client Tata Group team. So TCS India Private Limited, next, after the company, how they have bifurcated their business for their operational purpose team. In TCS India Private Limited, they have the business units like something like, again, the business units can be identified or can be defined or can be finalized based upon the client's business operation team, or you can choose according to the region wise or the location wise also team. My client like TCS India Private Limited, having their operations both in north and south areas in the India team. So they have defined as a company, TCS India Private Limited is there. Under that, the next operating units will be something like TCS North BU, and they have something like TCS South BU. They are operating into two business units after the company team. So TCS India Private Limited is a company, as a legal entity. Under that, they have two business units team, that is called TCS North BU and TCS South BU. They are having their operations maintained according to these two business units in the country team. And when you talk about Tata Motors team, Tata Motors Private Limited is a legal entity. And the next level of the business operational bifurcation, they have something like Tata Motors, okay, Tata Motors Manufacturing BU, then Tata Motors, what have to say, Distribution BU, then Tata Motors Sales Business Unit, etc. And more also you can have team. How many that client having their wings, they can define team. Let's suppose Tata Motors Private Limited is a legal entity team. Under that, they are having the business units like this, like Tata Motors Manufacturing Business Unit, Tata Motors Distribution Business Unit, and Tata Motors Sales Business Unit team. So as a company, it is operating in the country, and within that, they're into different business units team. They are categorizing their business functions into different business units team. So all the people of manufacturing will be working under manufacturing BU. All the people related to the distributional area, they will work under distribution business unit. People who are part of sales related thing, they are part of sales BU. Means what is that team? This is the enterprise. This is the division it comes under. And under this division, there are 3 legal entities. There are 3 companies operating team. And under each of the company, under each of the legal entity, they have different business units team. So business units, we can call them as team. They are the logical operating unit that comes under the business units, legal entities team. What is a business unit team? It is a logical operating unit comes under each legal entity of our customers team. So whenever we go for an implementation team, you can ask me, Kumar, you are writing down all the things here. How come we will finalize for our client? So whenever you go for an implementation team, first phase in the initial requirement gathering phase will be their team. Means we will collect all the requirements from the client. During that time, we will study the client's existing business operations team. How many organizations my client is having? Among that, what is the top mother holding group in my client organizations? And how many countries their operations are into? Whether they are doing the operations as per the division segregation or what? And how many companies my client is having currently in the market? Under that, how many operational units they have categorized it for performing the business functions? All these existing business process study will be done during the time of requirement gathering team. We as a team will understand the client's existing structure. What are all the organizations that our client currently having? And we will try to fit them in the fusion organizational structure team. So, okay, this is what the client's enterprise basically. So these are the divisions in the system. And these are all the clients' actual companies in the market. So these all companies in the fusion system, we have to define as legal entities. And under each legal entity, again, they have categorized their business functions into different operating units. Then we will define them as business units team. Like that, we will prepare the organization or enterprise structure of our client team. Okay. So under legal entities team, we will have the concept of business units team. So let's say here also we will define something under TCS US Private Limited. We have something like TCS IT BU, okay, TCS Development BU, etc. Like that. We have 2 business units here. And then under Tata Steels, let's say we have something like Tata Steels, whatever to say, procurement BU. Okay, then Tata Steels Finance BU, etc. Like that. And so you can list out for every legal entity. Under that, whatever business units you have, you can define accordingly here team. But coming to the business units, one thing I want to tell you team, an important point in the interview is also team. Are business units mandatory in the system or not? The question in the interview will be, are business units mandatory in the fusion system? Yes. Business units are mandatory in the system team. Business units are utmost mandatory in the system team. Why? Without the concept of BUs, we can't define our application team. So that important, the concept of business unit is team. Other things are also required team, but business units are utmost mandatory in the system. Why? I will tell you team. Basically, how we have organization structure or the enterprise structure in the fusion system team, we have one more structure team, which we have to talk after this particular thing. There is something called team workforce structures. We have some other structures called workforce structures team. In the workforce structures, we have 5 concepts team. They are jobs, grades, departments, locations, and positions team. So these are the 5 concepts that we will have in the workforce structures team. And in the fusion system, all these workforce structures are mapped to the business units in the system team. All the workforce structures like jobs, locations, grades, department, and position. What is a job? What is a grade? That I will come later to. But why the concept of business units are mandatory in the system? To that question team, all the workforce structures in the Fusion system are mapped to the business units in the application team. For each business unit, we have to map all these things. That's why the concept of business units are mandatory in the system. If at all, your client is a very small client. Let's suppose you got a project team, not the Tata group, let's say any small customer that you got a project team. And that client is telling, Kumar, I don't have multiple legal entities. I have only one company for which I want to use this Fusion applications. So I will define that one legal entity of my client team. And my client is telling, Kumar, I'm having 3,000 employees working in my organization, but I don't have any business unit concept. Means as a company only, I'm operating directly. Let's suppose Tata Textiles Private Limited is their team. In our Tata group only, let's assume. Tata Textiles Private Limited is there. My client is telling, Kumar, Tata Textiles Private Limited is a very small company. Only 2,000 employees are working in that organization. I don't have any further classification in my business. Means as a company only I'm operating. All the employees are working under Tata Textiles Private Limited. There is no concept of sub-operational units under that company team. I have not, I'm not doing the business having any other sub-operational units. But even then team, in the Fusion system, you have to define the business unit for that particular company with the same name, Tata Textiles Private Limited, BU. Means team, at least one business unit is mandatory. At least one BU is mandatory for a legal entity team. At least one business unit is mandatory for a business legal entity team. On top of that, you can define multiple business units under your legal entity team. Okay, take it as a thumb rule team. Whenever we configuring our org or the enterprise structure, whenever we configuring all these things in the system, make sure to remember team, the concept of business units are mandatory in the system, and at least one BU for a legal entity, we have to define team. On top of that, they can have multiple business units. Depending upon the size of that particular entity, they might segregate their business operations into different operational units team. So that you can list out as many you can. But as part of our training, I have listed some minimal units here team. Like for TCS India, 2 business units are there. For Tata Motors, 3 business units are there. For automobiles, you can list out team. Then TCS US, I have 2 business units. Then Tata Steels, I have 2 BU. For Tata Textiles, I have 1 business unit. Like that, for each legal entity in the system, we have to define the business units in the application team. All right. So these are the logical operating units that comes under our legal entities. The next level of business bifurcation, or in order to perform the business as a company, you have to segregate your business into different operational units team. So on what basis you are segregating? Either based upon the region or the location wise operations, or based upon the business functionality wise also you can have your operational units defined team. Then the niche or the lowest level within the organization structure team is called as departments team. Under each business unit in the system, we will have the concept of departments. This is the lower level organization in the structure team. What is that department? Every one of us know, in any of the companies that we people are currently working in, we will be working in the departments. So as part of your job that you are working in the company team, you might be placed in that particular department. Let's say sales department, finance department, IT department, admin department, purchasing department, or operations department. Whatever that, the lowest level of business bifurcation team. Under each business unit, we have the concept of departments team. Let's say under TCS North BU, my client is having the departments like Tata Sales Department, okay, TCS Purchasing Department, okay, then TCS Admin Department, etc. like this team, okay. So let's suppose here if you come team, In this TCS US, I have this business unit, ITBU, and development BU. So let's say under this ITBU, I have the departments like TCS finance department, okay, then TCS HR department, etc. like that team. So for under every business unit that you define under your legal entity team, you have their departments under that particular business unit team. So the lowest level segregation in the business, in order to group the employees working in the organization team, we have the concept called departments team. Ultimately, the employees will be part of the lowest level, that is department team, right? So department is a regular concept which we all well know in every company. In which department you are working, right? I'm part of sales department because I'm working as a sales trainee. I'm part of sales department, or I'm working as a HR assistant. I'm part of HR department. That is the concept of department team, that which we everyone know. So this is what the organization or the enterprise structure that we have in the Fusion system team. So if anyone comes from the e-business background, EBS background, don't compare this org structure exactly with your e-biz concept team. In e-business suite, in the place of enterprise, the top level, you have something called BGs, business groups. You can replace more or less, but not exactly the same concept team, the enterprise in the Fusion system as the business group. And then you have the entities over there also, legal entities, here also the same concept team. And here you have OUs, operating units. Here we will call it as business units team. But one thing that you should be aware of for the Fusion applications team, at any point of time, there will be only one enterprise in the system. At any point of time or at any instance, there will be only one enterprise in the system team. In the Fusion system, we cannot create multiple enterprises. If at all your client is into multiple companies or multiple countries or multiple operational team, you have to define here team. All of them you have to define as different legal entities. You can define multiple divisions. You can define multiple legal entities. You can define multiple business units or multiple departments team. But whereas coming to the enterprise, at any point of time, in an instance means in an application, we can have only one enterprise in the system team. There is no concept of defining multiple enterprises team. Yes, Karuna, any question to you?
Yeah, so are divisions mandatory, Kumar?
No, I might come to that one. I will tell that. Yeah. So at any point of time in an instance means the other name of the application, right? In an application, we can have only one enterprise in the system. So any other multiple operational things related to your customer you want to define, you have to achieve through the legal entities concept in the Fusion system team. All the companies of your client, you have to define as a legal entities in the system team. Now, how I told you, the concept of business unit is utmost mandatory in the system under each of the legal entity team. The concept of divisions are optional. The concept of divisions are optional. Either you define it or not, doesn't care. After the enterprise, directly you can jump to the legal entities and you can configure them team. So this is not a mandatory concept. In most of the cases, it is an unused concept team. In many implementations, out of the implementations which I worked on team, we have never configured a concept of divisions in a customer team. Oracle also given just for the kind of reporting purpose, just for the kind of hierarchy maintenance purpose in the system for the reporting level, the concept of divisions they introduced team. Whereas no place in the system we will make use of this concept. Why means team? Whenever we hiring the employee in the system, we will hire the employees in the legal entities team. It will ask us first of all, in which legal entity you are hiring the employee in the system. Whenever HR go to my client group and HR go to new person team, the very first question will be team, in which legal entity. We have other name for legal entity, other concept called legal employer. I will tell in next 10 minutes team. First question it will ask team, in which legal entity you are hiring the employee. So let's suppose today I'm going to hire an employee called Mr. Rajesh team. Let's suppose any employee you take, not even Rajesh. First it will ask in which company. I'm hiring my employee in TCS India Private Limited. Next it will ask us in this company, in which business unit you are hiring the employee. So in this legal entity, in this business unit, I am hiring the employee. The details we will capture. And next it will ask us team in the system after legal entity and business unit. In this business unit, in which department you are hiring the employee? I am hiring the employee in TCS sales department. Then next it will ask us team, okay, in this legal entity, in this business unit, in this department, in which job you are hiring the employee? What is the designation that you want to allocate to the employee job? In which grade you are hiring the employee? In which department is same concept here and here team? In which location you are hiring the employee? In which position you are hiring the employee? These all details will be asked team. Whenever we start using the system, these all informations will be captured at the employee level when we are hiring the employee in the system team. Nowhere this concept of divisions will be asked in the system. Enterprise also, while you hiring, it might not ask you team, but enterprise is having many validational things that we set up in the system for all the organizations team. So this is obviously by default concept. We cannot go out of that. But divisions, if you want, you define them as part of the reporting structural wise information if you want to maintain in the system, or else straight away we can ignore them team. After defining our enterprise, straight away we can go to the legal entities and we can configure all our clients' companies in the system team. Okay, that is optional concept, and rest of all are mandatory. Within that also, why business units are mandatory question comes to you, then tell them that all the work structures in the Fusion system are mapped to the business units in the system team. This concept also you will come eventually in next 1 to 2 sessions team. How we are going to map that work structures to BU. We have a concept called reference data set team. Through that we are going to assign. But how to assign that all we will see probably by Wednesday or Thursday sessions team. Okay. So this is what the organization structure in the Fusion system. Our client might not familiar with all these naming conventions team. They will call it as, yeah, it is a mother group, or it is a ultimate group of my companies, and they will call all these as regular companies. These are all my companies. These are all my operational units. These are all are my departments. Client might not familiar with the terminologies that we are having in the Fusion system team. So when we go for an implementation project team, by studying the client's existing organizational structure, how they are conducting the business in the market as of now, how many companies they have, how many employees are working in different companies, and under companies, any bifurcations they have in operating that business, like any operational units they have, how many departments they have in that particular company. We have to identify all these things team, and we have to finalize the structure for the client as part of our solution design, and we will present it to the client. This is what your organization structure that going to be in the Fusion system. Then client will review all these things and they will give the sign off, and then we can start the configuration team. Okay, so that is the business process, what handles or what happens in every implementation team. But you have to understand what is the org structure or enterprise structure in the Fusion system team. What is coming after what, and what is meant by what. Because team, take it as granted, every interview that you are going to face, it might be a fresher or it might be a 6 years or 7 years experience in interview team. Without having the question related to the org structure, you won't have any interview team. As far as core HR is concerned, this is the entire core HR configuration team. In the entire core HR module, we are going to configure organization structure and work structures team. If you go to core HR, you can see here CT, enterprise, locations, divisions, legal entity, business unit, departments, grades, jobs, positions, done. This is what the entire core HR module is related to. We are going to define two structures, something like organization structure, all these information, okay, and then we have to define all the workforce structures team. These two things we are going to configure in our core HR module team, and we are going to hire the employees in all these information team, in these or in this legal entity, in this business unit, in these departments, in these jobs, grades, locations, position. So these all are to be configured as part of our core HR configurations team. So once we clear with all the requirement for all these things, then you can start configuring them in the system team. Yes, Guru, any questions, please?
See, whether we can swap this hierarchy, keeping the divisions above the departments kind of things?
We cannot do that. I mean, hierarchy is something which you can define manually as part of organization trees. From that particular task point of view, you can switch them, but not keeping them above the divisions, or we cannot change the structure. The structure remains same.
Okay.
We cannot change that one. Basically, that is what the designated things which comes after which, that is what the application is designed basically. So this is has to be followed. Okay. So this is what our org structure team. Now, whenever we configuring particularly this concept of legal entities team, all our actual registered companies of our client, when we configuring them in the system as a legal entities team, we should know about three more concepts. So I will try to introduce to you three more concepts within the org structure definition team. What are those? We have something called legal employer, and we have something called PSU, called as payroll statutory unit, and we have something called LDG, legislative data group. So we should also know about these three more concepts when we're talking about the concept of legal entities in the system team. What is that team? What is a legal entity? I was telling you, team. A legal entity is nothing but the actual registered companies of our client is called as legal entity. Whenever you configuring the legal entities in the system, you should also define that legal entity as a legal employer. What is a legal employer, team? Legal employer is nothing but the company which will legally hires the employee in it is called as legal employer. The company which will legally hires the employee in it is called as legal employer. Team, by default, every legal entity that we're creating in the system, we will make it as a legal employer also, team. In Fusion system, one more interview question I will tell you here, team. Interviewer will ask you, in Fusion system, where you will hire the employee. The basic fundamental question, team. In Fusion system, where you will hire, I mean, in which level you will hire the employee, they will ask you. Many of us will blindly tell that we will hire the employees in the legal entities. That is absolutely wrong. We will not hire the employees in the legal entities team. We will hire the employees in the legal employer. But obviously, every legal entity is also a legal employer team. See here, I will go to system as a HR team. I'm going to my client group, and I will go to new person team. And let me try to initiate the hiring transaction team. New person, and I'm into hire an employee team. Now, as a HR, I'm going to hire an employee. What it will ask, you can see here, team. On the very first screen of hire an employee team, there is identification. In the basic details, hire date it is asking. By default, today's date it will take, that is October 3rd, that's okay. Hire date it is asking. Next, there is a concept called actions and reasons team that we can talk later. And see here, team, what it is asking. In which legal employer you are going to hire that new employee. So here I have to provide that company details team, like in which company I'm hiring the employee. So what it is asking here, does it asking legal entity? No, it is asking what? legal employer. So team, every legal entity, when you configuring them in the system, if you want to hire the employees in them, okay, you have to make that legal entity as a legal employer. How to do that one? In the core HR configurations, once we started, when we configuring our legal entity setups, then I will show you too. It's a very simple thing, just a checkbox kind of thing. When we're configuring a legal entity through a checkbox, we can make it as a legal employer. So what is a legal employer? You understood T. Okay. Next is payroll statutory unit team. What is a PSU concept team? The company which will maintains the salaries of the employees and also the tax related information of the employee. That is called as PSU, payroll statutory unit. The company or the entity which will maintains the salary processing of the employees and also the taxes related to that employees team. That is called as PSU. Same thing, whenever you defining the legal entities in the system, like how you making it as a legal employer, you should also make them as PSU team, so that the companies or the legal entities will have the provision in the system to hire the employees as well as to maintain the salaries of the employees also team. So while we configuring these legal entities team, these components will come into the picture team. So on the higher creation screen only, we have the option to make the legal entity as a legal employer and also as a PSU team. Now, within the concept of PSU, not necessarily every legal entity can be a PSU team. I will tell you how. Let's suppose team, two companies are there for my client in India, TCS India Private Limited, okay, and then Tata Motors Private Limited. There are two companies to my client team. My client is telling, when I go for an implementation team, Kumar, I have two companies, two legal entities, I mean, okay. So, okay, you define them as legal employers also because I want to recruit the employees in them. So these two are legal employers also. So in TCS India Private Limited, let's say 10,000 employees are working. In Tata Motors, 5,000 employees are working. That is what the employee strength in each of the companies team. My client is telling, Kumar, TCS India Private Limited is a legal entity, right? It is a legal employer because 10,000 employees are working. So it itself is a legal employer, and it itself is also a PSU, payroll statutory unit, because it will process the salaries of their employees and maintains the taxes of the employees, everything. Now coming to Tata Motors, my client is telling, Kumar, Tata Motors is a legal entity, one of the individual company of mine. And it itself is a legal employer also. 5,000 employees are working in Tata Motors company, but it is not a PSU by itself. Why? Because the 5,000 employees who are working in Tata Motors, these employees' salaries also my TCS India Private Limited is going to process. See, TCS and Tata are two companies, but my client is telling the employees of Tata Motors also getting paid by TCS only. That is a business wise setup they have. Let's suppose team. How you will achieve that one in that case? Means TCS along with their 10,000 employees salaries should process Tata Motors employee salaries also. In that case team, from the organizational point setup, whenever we configuring the Tata Motors Private Limited as a legal entity team, we will make it as a legal employer and we will make TCS as a PSU to Tata Motors team. We will make TCS as a PSU to Tata Motors team. So this will only handle the salaries of these employees also team. This kind of leverage or the setup we can also do in the system team. So whenever we defining the legal entities, by this point of time, we should be very clear about all these requirements related to the payroll, everything team. Okay, which company is going to handle the salaries of whom? If everyone having their own source of payments, everything, then every legal entity, how you defining them as a legal employer? You can define it as a PSU by themselves team. they can only pay their salaries to their employees. So that is what payroll statutory unit defining for each of the legal entity in the system team. Next, after you creating as a PSU team, you should also assign a concept called LDG to each of your PSU team. What is that LDG team? Legislative Data Group. LDG, nothing but it's a localized payroll partition. What is that team? These are the legal entities which are located in India. These are the legal entities located in United States. These are the legal entities located in Europe, and they are in Middle East. Country to country, certain statutory legislative requirement changes you have to face team. What is that? An example I will tell you team. If you take India team, that is our country. Okay. In India, as per the government tax regulations or the policy, what are all the components that we have in India team? Every month, whenever an employee salaries are getting processed, along with the salary, what are all the deductible or the taxable components as part of India we have team? We have income tax, Indian income tax, okay, and we have something like PF, that is Provident Fund, and we have something called PT, professional tax, and we have something called ESI, according to the state, employee state insurance tax, if at all you are part of that provision, that is also deducted. And within income tax, I have different calculational rules. If the employee salary is below 4 lakhs, he is part of this percentage of tax component. If the employee salary is 4 lakhs to 10 lakhs, he is part of this particular slab of income tax calculation. They're into different. And Provident Fund, some portion from the employee and some portion of employer have to contribute for PF of the employee. Then PT every month. So this is as per the Indian law scheme. If you go to United States, they have something like FIT, federal income tax. They have state income taxes. They have county level taxes, and within that also, in the federal income tax, if you are single filing means one level of tax calculation. Married means one level of tax calculation. Different rules for United States. If you go to UKT, they have something called national insurance over there, or they have something called statutory deductions. According to their country, they have certain statutory deductions they have to. Then if you go to Middle East countries, either it might be a Saudi or Kuwait or any other countries team, let's say Saudi, they have something called GOSI. Every month employees will contribute their portion of their salary for a component called GOSI. And they have end of service benefits called gratuity. And they have something called Article 35. So country to country, certain legislative requirements or components will be there too. Now, how system will understand that these employees who are working in these countries should be provisioned with that country respective legislative norms, and people who are working in these companies, the US based legislative norms should be born to them. How team? So that is a concept called LDG, Legislative Data Group. By default in the system team, for every country, Oracle defined the standard legislative data group. I cannot say for every country team, but to the max extent to whatever the payroll supported legislations that Oracle application currently have, for all that countries, LDGs are readily available team. You also have a provision to define that customly that we will come in our future sessions team. So whenever you configuring the legal entities in the system, you should make it as a legal employer, and you should create the PSUs of that legal entities, and you have to map the country respective LDG group to that particular legal entities PSU scheme. So for all these legal entities in India, I will map Indian legislative data group. Okay. For all the legal entities in United States, when I'm defining team, I will map US legislative data group. Okay. And for Europe, I will define Great Britain, GB legislative data group, nothing but UK that is. Okay. Then for Saudi, I have Saudi legislative data group, or if it is a Kuwait, I have KW, Kuwait legislative data group. If it is a Bahrain, that is BH I have. So for every country, we have the LDGs are also available. So when you're configuring these things in the system, you should be careful about these settings also, team. You have to make them as legal employer, PSU, and associate the country respective legislative data groups to them. Why? Because, team, these all configurations we no need to do as far as the payroll is concerned, or as far as the absence module is concerned, team. Whatever the legislative country level rules or the regulations are there, predefinedly all these are available in the system, team. Let's suppose, team, you got a project for one of the client in United States and you have to implement the payroll for that client team. You don't need to configure any localized regulatory components or the statutory taxable related components. You don't need to configure, team. Already Oracle supports all these configurations, team, and for every country Oracle by default delivers all these components. But how system will know that this legal entity is part of this country, and these all legislative norms should be provided to the employees of those legal entities or legal employer, team? With this LDG, we will come to know, team. So every legal entity, when we configuring them, as I told you, okay, as I told you, you have to create it as a legal employer and create the PSUs of them and map the country respective LDGs to that particular legal entity scheme. This is what you have to do whenever you're going for an implementation and whenever you're going for the configuration team. So understand the hierarchy which is coming after which. We have enterprise at the top, we have divisions followed by, we have legal entities followed by, under each legal entity we have business units, under each business unit we have departments in the system, team. This is what org or the enterprise structure that we have in the Fusion system, team.